And Member for Highwood.
There we go. Mr. Speaker, the post-secondary tuition freeze implemented by the NDP government is unsustainable. Budgeting for students and institutions for future years seems impossible with this government's refusal to make any decisions. This government seems to have little thought for poor students and upfront grants, and has budgeted more for student loans, getting the stage and setting the stage for something, but who knows what. There seems to be no timeline, and the minister keeps shifting his responsibilities onto the taxpayers of this province. To the minister, when will you announce the funding review so that students and institutions can plan for years to come, not just semester to semester?
The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was proud to announce last week our government's continuation of the tuition freeze. It will keep tuition among the lowest in the country, which was not the case when we became government, Mr. Speaker. Of course, under those guys opposite, we had the highest tuition in the country. We don't believe that that's the way we create opportunities for our students. We want to make sure that no student chooses to not go to school because they can't afford it, which is why we're continuing with the tuition freeze, Mr. Speaker. And of course, we'll have more to say about our policies around tuition and student aid in the very near future.
For supplemental.
Well, Mr. Speaker, since we know that continuing the tuition freeze, the rate of inflation gap continues to grow exponentially each year by keeping tuition rates at 2015 rates. And given the cost of this continued freeze will be either forced onto taxpayers or students in the future, is the minister buying time to set up political scoring points from students for the next election?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And of course, we recognize that the cost of delivering higher education goes up, which is why we've backfilled the difference between the tuition increase and the tuition freeze that we've announced for 3 out of the 4 years of the tuition, Mr. Speaker. Of course, the members opposite are so concerned about future generations. However, they have no concern at all for the current generation of students who wouldn't be able to afford tuition under their policies.
Speaker, you still have a third one.
But I remind you again, and yet again, statements like "not true" are not acceptable. The second supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, given the minister has repeatedly promised frustrated administration and the students a funding model review that keeps getting pushed to the side and into the future, and given the minister can't use time and the freeze to keep Alberta students pacified and use international ones for the sustainable budgeting purposes, is the next item on the agenda to downgrade tuition costs entirely to Alberta taxpayers, so all Alberta students, and thus lower the quality of education and the completion rates here in Alberta?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And of course, we continue to have some of the most highly ranked universities in the whole country here in Alberta, and that will continue under the policies of our government. Not only that, Mr. Speaker, we're making it much more affordable for our students to get that high-quality education right here in the province, Mr. Speaker. Under their plan, Mr. Speaker, they would close the doors to additional students. They would jack up tuition so that it's unaffordable for most students, Mr. Speaker. We don't believe that that's the way to promote higher education in the province of Alberta. Our plan will support students, Mr. Speaker.